I really wanted to have this discussion, and I wanted to get this off my chest. This is something that's been bothering me for the past couple of days because, as you get older and you mature and, you start to develop or sometimes discover an overall perspective or different perspective of how you view things over the years. And me being on this planet for 49 years, like I said, I just see stuff different. But one of the things that have always bothered me, and even the fact that I'm quote unquote, grew up in the hood or from the streets, is how we tie, what we have or how we grew up, we tie that to blackness. One of the things that I didn't like about the press conference with Team Progray and Team Haney, well, first of all, I'm gonna start off, and I'm just gonna keep it a buck. I liked it for the most part, but I didn't like how, and I've said this before, and I just got to keep it a buck. If I'm gonna have the same energy and speak on something that I had an issue with one group of people, I got to speak on this issue. I didn't like the fact that, the N-word was flying around in that setting. And Terrence Crawford had just talked about that. Like, when you promote the fight, you could argue, you could talk crazy, but I think you don't have to use that type of language and that type of setting to sell a fight, because at the end of the day, you have to understand it's mixed company there. And a lot of times this is where you get this whole notion about, and the whole debate about who can say the N-word and who can't and all that kind of stuff. I've always said this, and I'll stand by this. I really don't care for people that don't look like me saying that word. And then I've had to limit who I say that word around. I don't try to police everybody. You know what I'm saying? I done been over people's house who are not quote unquote black, and they may drop that word occasionally, or some use it more than I do, but I don't police everybody. But that was just something that I didn't like that I saw, because I'm looking at fights of yesteryear. I'm looking at Sugar Ray Leonard, his fight going into the Marvin Hagler fight, or Thomas Hearns, or some people like that. I'm looking at guys like Larry Holmes and some other people promoting fights. You didn't see them guys throwing that word around, because at the end of the day, they knew that wasn't the setting to be talking like that. And I know that media was different, 30, 40 years ago than what it is now, but still, you just have to be careful. And I know times is different now, but still. So I kind of didn't like that, and I just have to keep it a buck. The same way I criticized Tony Harrison and Jermell Charlo, the way they was slinging that word around, it got to the point to where they had to cut off the dude's mics. I feel like you can sell a fight without having to go that route. And I mean, if you want to argue and all this kind of stuff and make it look good, fine. I think how Bud and Errol Spence handled their press conference, their 2-day press conference, and then leading up to the fight, even though it got a little colorful towards, fight night, when you had somebody that was part of Errol Spence camp making terroristic threats towards Terrence Crawford, and they got threw out of there and they got banned from the event, which was good. because you just don't need that. It's not that serious. So like I said before, I got to keep the same energy because I know eventually somebody is going to bring that up. But when I saw that, I was like, okay. But, you know, that's just my opinion, and I have a right to my opinion. And, you know, if people get mad, you know, about me voicing my opinion, then, you know, fine. I can live with it. But I stand 100% on what I say. But that's one of the things I didn't like. And then this other thing that I didn't like, which leads to the point of this video. I'm so tired of black people, in particularly, sitting up telling somebody they don't know what it's like to struggle or get something from the mud because they grew up with a silver spoon. I'm so tired of black people trying to shame other black people from where they came from, or whether they came from the streets and they had a tough upbringing, or they was somebody that had money. Nothing wrong with either way how you get something. At the end of the day, your job as a parent is to provide for your children and make sure they don't go through what you went through. I say this and I say this again. I have no regrets about not raising my son in Oakland, California. I grew up there. I seen everything. I seen a lot of stuff that I can't even talk about on this video for just different purposes, and you know what I'm talking about. What I've seen, what I've witnessed, what I've been through myself. And then I seen this dude talk about, oh, you grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. Oh, well, if Devin Haney did, fine. Oh, you from the, like, you know, oh, you trying to act, I mean, it's just always this thing. I don't think Devin tries to present himself as a street dude. Now, whether we like it or not, some of that stuff is synonymous with black culture. But at the end of the day, I don't like people sitting up here trying to shame somebody because, well, they may have grew up with money. And nothing's wrong with that. And I just think that's been a toxic thing that's went on in our community for, you know, basically decades now. This whole notion of street cred and all this kind of stuff, and our sick mentality of thinking. I'm not ever gonna look down on nobody that grew up with money. And then I think that's that whole notion where this whole I want a street dude stuff come from. And it spreads not only with the men in our community, with the women. And this is where a lot of this stuff come from. You know, I want to, you know, a Pookie and a Ray Ray or a dude from the streets versus a regular dude. Because that's always been used as a shaming tactic. I mean, you got to ask yourself, when you think about that, that's not normal. That's kind of psychotic. And this is what Kevin Samuels was talking about when he was saying some of us need therapy. And I think you need therapy if you think that constantly, you know, being in and out of jail and all this kind of stuff defines blackness. And not only do you get that with people that look like us, that's why you have the DJ Vlads and the Adam 22s in the world that sit up there and try to exploit that and think that is the definition of how black people is perceived. And that's why I can't stand those two culture vulture motherfuckers. I would never have a conversation with Adam 22 or DJ Vlad or DJ Vlad Rally. And then you get those dudes that actually think they can try to tell you what black culture is and what blackness is. And I think that take nerve for somebody that ain't black to try to tell somebody that is actually black what black culture is. I think that's insulting, and that's what pissed me off about people in our community. And then a lot of times you look on YouTube, you have a bunch of these these bottom feeder, pathetic black dudes and black chicks that like celebrate being in and out of jail and stuff, and think that that defines blackness, and that's cool. You ask me what other community has that type of mental capacity where we think being in and out of jail, locked up away from your children or your family is cool. And you got people that got content that's dedicated and predicated on celebrating being in prison. I don't respect no dude or no bitch that think like that. And if you got a problem with it and you mad about me saying that, well, too bad. I think you a clown. I think you a clown. Let me tell you something. Every time I was incarcerated, I couldn't wait to get out. But like I said, you got people that are on YouTube that make it look like it's cool being in and out of jail, being in the pen, and have, like I said, have content dedicated to celebrating. Like, let me tell you something, ain't nothing cool about being in and out of jail where you lose your freedom, where you have people telling you when to use the bathroom, when to shower, when to eat, when you can work out. And a lot of times them people don't look like you. That's not normal behavior. This is why I'm for reparation, because ain't nobody more psychologically damaged than black men and black women from just everything. And like I said before, nobody wants to have these real conversations. But I just got mad hearing dudes say, "Oh man, you was born with money. You had a civil. You didn't get it out the mud." Like okay, first of all, if you had to struggle to get where you are, that's fine. But if, like I said, if your family or you had people that had the resources that provided for you to where you didn't have to resort to being in the streets to have things, ain't nothing wrong with that. But I get tired of people like aligning that with blackness. You ain't black because you got money. You ain't black because you grew up with money. Your daddy had a good job. And then you have these dudes that come from the suburbs that go out of their way to try to be hood. One thing I loved about that movie, that ATL, especially with Lauren London's character, when Jackie Long was trying to tell her, like, dang, you want to be ghetto, where you had his character that was quote unquote from the streets, from the hood, and he was trying everything in his power to get out of the hood, where you had her character who had a father that had money and who was well off. You had her wanting to be from the hood, and dudes like, dang, you want to be ghetto so bad. And at the end of the day, ain't nothing with elevating yourself. We've shamed black people as a whole, each other, for, going to college, wanting to further yourself, better yourself. And I don't want to hear nobody come on here and try to say, well, this happens in listen, I'm gonna make it very clear. I don't care what goes on in other people's community. I don't care about the non-black community. I care about my community that's suffering and hurting from this, whether it's via other people trying to define what blackness is, or other black people trying to define this as being blackness. I think it's dumb, and it just needs to be said. And it was just getting on my nerve listening to that dude with Regis Camp just talk like that. Oh man, we got it out the mud. Well, at the end of the day, you know what I'm saying? If you can prevent yourself from stepping in the mud, or stepping over the mud, or being able to jump over the mud, by all means. I just have never understood that. But then again, if you look at the type of movies they put out and how we present it on TV and film, then I guess so. Because we always are present. That's why it's shocking when people run into people like, hey, you know, I do this. I'm a doctor. I'm a lawyer. You know what I'm saying? I'm an engineer. And people make it seem like it's shocking. And then they make it seem like every black person grew up with just a mama. You know? And that's not true. But I just get tired of hearing that kind of stuff, man. I get tired of black people with that type of mudslinging towards each other, trying to down each other for whether we come from being well off or not from being well off. We have to stop this shit because it's toxic and it's a problem. This has been a generational problem. And you've seen what this has done. This is why our community is so damaged now from thinking like that. When people listen to this chick's channel or this dude's channel, like I said, if you a person on YouTube that's proud that you went to prison, you need to go, for real, you need to go lay on that couch. You really need therapy. And that's something that I really think that we do need to like start speaking on. Now I'm speaking on mental health because I think that's toxic and that's dangerous. Nobody has suffered more systematic damage than black people. And you can see the toll that it's taken on us because, like I said, we the only ones that think going to jail is cool. We the only ones that think blackness is defined by what you didn't have. Or for real. So a person that grew up where their parents provided for them and they didn't have to, you know what I'm saying, struggle. They didn't have to turn to the streets to get what they wanted like I did. That make them a bad person. I thought that's the whole premise of a parent, is to provide for their children to where they don't have to struggle. But we're shamed for it. You get people telling other people, good. Like I said, my son is 25 years old. I could just say this much. He didn't really have to whoop for nothing. I think to a certain degree, my problem was I gave him everything he asked for. I think that's the problem. To a certain degree. But you have to balance that stuff. You have to balance that stuff. And that's just real talk. I mean, he's figuring it out now. But at the end of the day, I don't regret one bit. Because I don't think my son would be where he is now if I would have like raised my son in Oakland. My son got raised somewhere else. And that's okay. Like I said, blackness isn't defined by what you have, don't have to get, already have. Blackness is a mentality, how you treat each other. I don't look down on nobody that came from what you would call the streets and elevated themselves. And I don't look down on nobody that had money. But then I look at the fact that a lot of times it steers black people the wrong way when we define blackness by, you know, what we don't have and turn it to the streets. We glorify all that stuff. I mean, have I done a part to a certain degree? I don't know. But you don't never hear me sitting up here making, I was in the streets. But I don't sit up here and try to celebrate it. I don't sit up here and say, yeah, prison is cool. Prison is cool. I had so much fun being in prison. Ah, man, you ain't from the hood, you from the suburbs. Okay? As long as this dude from the suburbs, look out for people that come from where the quote unquote hood, that's fine. And this is why we have this division in our community among black men and black women. Even though the white man got it started from systematic racism, from, the house nigger, field nigger thing, to welfare, the prison, you know what I'm saying? The prison pipeline, a lot of different things. They played a role in it, but then when did we say enough is enough? When did we start, you know what I'm saying, taking control back? When did we start saying enough is enough? We not gonna let you to continue to destroy our community and destroy us. Now, you can't overturn hundreds of years of damage overnight, but gradually you can do it. But we gotta stop this stuff. That pissed me off when I heard that dude say, yeah, you was born with a silver spoon in your mouth. Mom, you didn't get it like how we got it. Like I said, that's crazy. Like I've told this story before. I had a dude that was a friend of mine. He's no longer with us. Because this is a prime example. I ain't gonna say his name. He been gone for a while. But it's the same thing, the same toxic and destructive mentality that we have. Where, both of his parents worked for AC Transit. They were both bus drivers. Now, that's our bus system through the Bay Area, through mostly the East Bay, from pretty much, AC Transit pretty much go everywhere for the most part. But at the time, in the early 90s, his parents was both making, like, at that time, which was extremely good money, a lot, I ain't gonna say per hour, but they was making decent money. He didn't have to want for nothing. He had the best clothes, all that kind of stuff. But he wanted to be from the streets so bad, because that's how blackness is defined, being from the streets. Well, and this is why a lot of times the music that's put us, where they have a whole bunch of rappers talking about all this stuff about being in the streets and all this kind of stuff. And then the funny thing is, a lot of these rappers ain't even really from the streets. A lot of them are from the suburbs. It's a facade. Because those record labels tell a lot of those artists to talk like that. Keep in mind, that's why Dre and Rakim fell out. Because Dre wanted Rakim to start talking about how he a blast and all this stuff and sell, how much weight he put. That's why they fell out. Now keep in mind, Saigon said the same thing. Saigon said the reason why he left Atlantic Records is like when he made his album, The Greatest Story Never Told, because Saigon really, he was really in the streets. But when he came out, he wanted to go a different direction. He wanted to kick knowledge. And you have to understand, the record labels suppressed any type of music that talked about uplifting black people. They wanted to push out the street, to selling dope and all this kind of stuff. So that's how all that stuff got tied to blackness. which it isn't, which is complete BS. Chamillionaire, his second album. Chamillionaire decided to make an album where he wasn't going to use no profanity. He said, you know what? I'm going to make an album where I'm not going to use no profanity whatsoever. And his record label had no use for him. Saigon said when he turned in his album to Atlantic Records, they looked at him like he was crazy. Where's the selling dope? Where's the, shooting people? This is what white people tell black, and that's it. I mean, the nerve of them to try to tell you what blackness is or what you supposed to be rapping about. The nerve of them. So this is how this is all tied together. You see how I make the connection? You see how I just linked all this together? See, people don't want to have them kind of conversations. See, we don't want to talk about that. We don't want to talk about that. But this is how all this is tied together. And I say this, and I've said this on several occasions. I commend Bill for, basically bringing Devin to Las Vegas to pursue a career in boxing, because Bill probably saw the same thing. Like I said, I knew about Bill and his brother, you know what I'm saying? But like I said, it's not for me to tell their business. That's Bill's story to tell, if Bill want to share it with people. But Bill, I give Bill credit, and I told Bill that. I give him credit for not celebrating what he went through. Yeah, so, I'm from Oakland. I mean, when Bill was out there, when Bill and my boy Justin McRae, when they was out there, they was really out there. But like I said, it's they story to tell, not mine. And if Bill felt that he wanted a better, you know what I'm saying? He wanted a better way to raise Devin, ain't nothing wrong with that. I just get tired of black people doing that stuff. You don't see white people sitting up saying, hey man, I don't respect you, Bob. White people frown upon, white people that struggle or that's not well off. They frown upon, they look, you know what I'm saying? That's real talk. They don't celebrate, you know what I'm saying? They turn their back on people that that commit the crime. They don't even here and celebrate people that's in and out of prison. A lot of times people from other communities, they don't want to have nothing to do with a person that's in and out of jail. But we celebrate that. We celebrate people that go to college, that further educate themselves. We call them sellouts. We call them coons. That doesn't make any kind of sense when you think about it. Tell me that I'm lying. That's crazy. That is, you know what I'm saying? That's not normal. That's not normal. But then again, if you look what's been done to us and how we've been programmed and brainwashing, you get the picture. And I noticed something, and this is what I'm saying. I noticed something about this particular platform. You notice a lot of people that talk like that, for the most part, as long as they don't talk to the extreme, you notice those channels are to a certain degree blown up. I notice a lot of those channels have over 100,000 subscribers, and I think to myself, man, that don't make no kind of sense. And that's why I don't respect none of these dudes, none of these chicks and dudes that sit up here that look like me, that sit up there and make it seem like it's cool to be in and out of jail. Fuck all of y'all. That's real talk, and that's from me, Town Biz. Yeah, I said it. And if somebody think I'm specifically talking to them, fine. Because like I said, I done seen a couple of people that sit up there and act like that's cool. You know, dudes sitting up there acting like, yeah, I've been to the pen and all that kind of stuff. And just because you been to the pen don't make you tough. Nobody, like I said before, I'm going to say this again. Story lifting your chin, sleeping you. That ain't never meant nothing to me. Most of them dudes that sit up there be built like that can't fight anyway. A lick. That's why they sit up there and turn to the gym and stuff. Cause it's like this. You hit you punch anybody in the right spot, you can hurt them. That's real talk. Not gonna tell you what spots to target. But I'm just saying. But this is far too toxic. Like I said, this has been going on for decades. And shout out to 2 Raw for bringing this up. Because he inspired me to talk about this a long time ago. But then when I saw that press conference, just gave me a reminder. You grew up with a silver spoon in your mouth. So? This gotta stop. This gotta stop. You need, like I said before, this is how Pookie and Ray Rays are created. This is why Pookie and Ray Ray and Keisha and Riri are celebrated and worshipped. Something seriously wrong with that. So anyway, I just wanted to put that out there. You know, once again, shout out to, you know, both teams, but I just had to get that off of my chest, and I stand on everything I say. Real talk. Anybody got an issue with it? Oh well, I'm out.